Let's ride hoverboards into the sun with Echo Point Nova, then run on some diagonal walls in Diesel Night. Let's boo League of Legends for being scabs, then run out of water in Forever Winter. Let's fall in some pipes in Lorn's Lure, then God on some war. Then let's Mork on some Borg with Mork Borg. Then finally, let's talk about the latest Sony State of Play.
Hi, I'm Nick, and our main number one viewer, Kona, has special ribs, and I don't know what that means.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I may or may not have a tramp stamp of a kaiju.
And I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. WerewolfFacts.com. Well, hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Returns.
As us.
Please
Us
don't make any more returns.
Be kind, rewind.
God.
We're old.
Yeah, it's true. Hey, so this is Video Game Tango. We're here to talk to you about video games.
Video games.
We got quite a lot on the docket tonight. Going to be a jam-packed show. We've got PlayStation State of Play. We've got some indie games. We've got some industry news. We've got opinions and all kinds of stuff.
The state of play on my PlayStation game that I'm playing right now
Is
They're telling
mid.
him.
Yeah.
So, hey, why don't we just go ahead and get started? Let's start with you, Nick.
All right. A while back, there was a Steam demo. I don't remember if it was Next Fest. Or
It was a Next Fest,
It
yeah.
was a Next Fest. And one of the standout demos at that time that I got to play with my brother, because it was a co-op demo, which is very awesome.
We played it too.
Oh, you and I played it?
Yeah.
Too? Good. Yeah, it was fun. Is Echo Point Nova. This is a high-octane first-person traveling at Mach fuck game that has this massive open, I want to call it a series of sky islands.
Yeah.
And it's very, very quick movement-based gameplay. Wall running and sliding and surfing and flips, and you're traveling 900 miles an hour, and it all feels amazing. They did a really good job, quote unquote, tightening up the movement on level 3 to further reference how old we are. You get like hoverboards and stuff, and you go to each of these little islands, and they each have their own little like mini missions you have to do on that island, kill X amount of guys, protect this thing. And yeah, it was just a blast, super fast. And it is finally out. It came out September 24th. It's got a whopping 348 reviews on Steam as of right now, and it is sitting at a very positive, which is exciting to see that the game is as fun as the demo was. I'm not surprised. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. It's currently clocking in at 10% off, only $22.50, which, especially for a 2 to 4 player co-op game, that is in the realm of like buying this for your friends to play with you.
Yeah.
Price. It's just a blast. It was a hoot of a game, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad to see that it's doing so well. It does support full controllers, Xbox controllers. It's online. It's already got Steam achievements up. It includes a level editor. There is family sharing. The minimum system requirements are like 64-bit, 8 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA 1050 or equivalent, Windows 10, 4 gigabyte game. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's super fast. The gunplay was a lot of fun. There wasn't a gun that I disliked in the game, which
Yeah, it was fun bouncing around between them.
yeah. We actually finished the demo when you and I played. And God, it was a blast. I mean, and even the demo, we probably got a good hour and a half out of the demo, and fought the first major boss. Fun time the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boss is a puzzle platformer.
Yeah, which
You
is
ain't just shooting a dude in his hurt box. So you had to like climb around on this massive sky mosquito dragon.
yeah.
And I mean massive, like miles long.
Oh yeah, it took
Yeah.
like a minute to get from one end to the other, going fucking Mach 8.
It was very, very fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
When your taglines are Titanfall meets Doom meets Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't jibbles
That
your
sums up the
wibbles,
game
like, I
very
don't,
well.
like, come on. There's a little something for everybody.
In the same vein, a project I've been kind of following, a game that is not out yet, and it's still very, very early in development, but is exciting, is something called Diesel Nights. This is currently being developed by a single developer, Xavier B. Johnson, and that's Diesel Knights, Knights. This guy's essentially trying to remake Titanfall in a diesel punk setting, a 6v6 PvP shooter with wall running. He is doing all of the modeling and animating by himself. He has gotten some help on other things, but for the most part, this is like 2 or 3 years, I think he said. I could be wrong, but 2 or 3 years into production of making a 6v6 PvP game as a lone developer. And if you go to the YouTube channel and watch his videos, he's clearly very passionate about what he's doing. His audience loves it. And if you're really into it, you can pop on. I think he has a Discord server, and every once in a while, they it sounded like they do invite people from the Discord chat that I believe is public to try it out. But yeah, it's essentially Titanfall, but with diesel-powered mechs and World War I style guns, but you still get to do all the wall running and jumping and flipping and whatnot. And have that mech versus player versus mech combat. So it's really cool to see this project coming along and doing so well. So
yeah, that's super cool. Dude, this looks fantastic. So we have mechs. We have, it really does look like a Titanfall offshoot.
Yeah, it's there. There's a phrase, a game genre, movement games, something like that.
A movement heaven.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's obviously not the only Titanfall clone, but the guy's basically just like, I want to get back to the roots of what he really liked about Titanfall. Obviously, he's not doing the same game because you got to make your own game.
Yeah.
So yeah, he made this whole setting up and coding it in this diesel punk thing. I think it's gonna be pretty interesting because it means maybe slower time to kill player versus player because you don't have fully auto weapons.
Right.
But he's clearly putting in a lot of work into this, and I just figured it deserved a shout out. So I imagine, given his rate, it'll probably be a year or two before this is like released.
Yeah.
Maybe longer than that, but at the very least, we could be seeing demos early as next year. So yeah, I plan to keep my eye on it.
Yeah, we should definitely see if we can get into his alpha beta programs because I want to check it out.
Yeah, this video, I think in particular in the information of his YouTube channel, which I don't have it. Do you have it there, the name of his YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's Diesel Knights.
It is Diesel Knights. Mm-hmm. I think he talks about how to get into the Discord if it's open. So
okay, sweet. Yeah, that's something I want to check out for sure because, I'm going to keep my eye on this game. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, the design looks really cool because you're thinking like World War I mech. What does that look like? Well, he nailed it. Yeah. He nailed it. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but that
mech was very cool looking.
Yeah,
it's
super cool looking.
He talks about when you're doing hand animating like this, you don't have mocap and whatnot. You have to consider every movement thing that the player can do: crouch, walk, run, half run, slide, wall jump. And then you have to hand make every transition animation for each of those between each of those, right?
Yeah.
I think he said he had 11 months between this video and his last one is how long it took him just for that one character, right? So clearly putting in the effort.
Yeah, wow. That's baller, dude.
Yeah, a lot of passion.
Yeah, I love it. Well, hey, Josh, let's talk about passion some more, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, somebody done fucked up a little bit. So League of Legends was on the strike-free list from Sag-Aftra, meaning that union members of Sag-Aftra could still provide voices and still do all the mocap work and everything that League of Legends requires to continue, pumping out characters and making new storylines and all that good stuff. That was until an associated studio with Riot Games called Formosa decided to commit a quote-unquote flagrant violation of the labor law.
Ew.
Now, while this strike is going on, there are other games under that. So what Formosa does for Riot is they provide a lot of the voices and stuff for these characters. Okay. in the League of Legends and in some of the other games. Now, where Formosa has messed up is they had a project that was struck. Like, it could not be worked on. It could not do anything. So they tried to cancel it and ditch it. But as it turns out, that was also not an option at that point. So what they did was they shunted the game off to a shell company and then put out immediate hires for non-union members to come and continue work on this game. So they violated labor law. They're trying to get around the strike. And Formosa is one of the 10 big gaming companies that is currently being struck by Sag-Aftra for the interactive media agreement. I can't remember its acronym, but
Yeah.
they're trying to get a new one of those, and these guys, they're going around the rules. They're not playing fair games. So Sag-Aftra has decided to punish, to hit them where it hurts in League of Legends. And so of course, Riot Games is saying this is, this is unfair. We only use union members. This has nothing to do with us. And currently, it doesn't look like non-union members were used in League of Legends, but that's the point of a strike, is to hit where it hurts. And this is where it's got to be effective. So good on them for going after a big boy, and someone who thought they were going to be immune to this. It's good to see that there are still consequences. So yeah, I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Happy about it.
Definitely. Yeah, it's really disappointing that they do some fuckery like that. But it's the games industry, man. That's kind of what they're getting to be known for. So we've talked quite extensively recently about another game called The Forever Winter. I'm not going to reintroduce you to it. If you want to check it out, it's up on Steam now. There's plenty of information about it on YouTube. It's also on our blog if you want to check that out.
It's not the new Game of Thrones book?
No, I'm afraid it's not.
Dang it.
Am I afraid? I don't know. So the only reason I want to bring it up is because it is out now in early access. Came out just a couple days ago, earlier this week. One of the issues is that, there's one main issue. So right now the reviews are mixed. There's a little over 4,000 reviews, and it seems everybody has one major complaint. As far as the reviewers go, there are a lot of reviewers with lots of reviews under their belts, and it seems like everybody is being relatively forgiving about the early access issues, in that the AI isn't there yet, the combat isn't there yet. There's a few balancing issues they need to have addressed before it's ready for launch. But I think it's fun. Yeah, Fun Dog Studios has said, like, hey, we're putting this game out just because of the sheer interest that you guys have had in this for the last couple months.
It's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's going to be hugely rough because they really didn't plan on doing any kind of early access, at least this early in the dev cycle. So it's earlier than early access that they intended to have. So I think everybody is giving it a fair shake as far as that's concerned, because when you read the reviews, they definitely bring some of that stuff up. It's got some considerable jank that should be dealt with during the development process of this game. There's one glaring issue that I see in all of the reviews, and this is what they most harshly point out, is that this is an extraction shooter, and it plays a lot like typical extraction shooters, except for in this game, you are not the hero. You are the everyman, and you have no power in the ongoing faction struggles that are happening here. Well, the main resource that you are trying to collect, the thing that makes you more powerful by giving you additional vendors and people in your camp, is water. Water is arguably your most important resource. Of course, you get guns, ammo, magazines, etc. outside of that. But what attracts people, which is the most important commodity in this game, is the water, which is the most important resource in this game. The unfortunate thing is, for whatever reason, they've decided that the water would deplete in real time, whether the game was active, like whether you were playing the game, or whether you're away from the game.
Yikes.
Yeah, so even when you're not playing the game, water depletes. That is, by and large, the biggest complaint of the game is people are saying that, we've only had hours of access to play this so far. In that time, we have not got enough water to allow us to come back the next day and have any of our progress kept. You do keep your player XP, so as far as that's concerned is, if it takes you a little while to jump back into the game and your water has depleted, it should be a little bit easier this time around to get the water and resources back. But it deletes all of your items that you have in your inventory and in your stash, and all of the NPCs and vendors that you've collected via having water as a resource die. So they are 100% dependent on you as the player character to gather water in these missions. And they don't cut back on water usage while you're away from the game or anything like that. It maintains the same, decrease whether you're playing or not. So that is kind of a glaring issue to me. One that I hope they change their minds on. Because that kind of sucks. Now, there are a few people since I started reading reviews earlier this afternoon that are coming back and saying like, you can see that I have 4.5 hours on record playing this game. I have 55 water resources from my runs. Gathering water does require a successful extraction, which can be a little bit difficult. But there are players saying that for every extraction you get with water, it gives you a day. And some players are saying, I have 55 days worth of water. It's not a resource that I'm worried about running out of while I'm AFK.
I did also read a review of a guy who only managed to successfully extract once out of 5 times.
I did too.
And he wasn't able to get any water that run.
He actually, so I just want to point out that I read that review as well. He did make an edit since we were talking about this earlier, saying that he has made more successful extractions. He still hasn't changed his opinion on the game. Yeah. Understandably so. That is kind of a weird mechanic to have it deplete as you're gone from the game. So he's maintained his opinion of the mechanic, but he has made a correction or an edit on his review saying that he does have days worth of water collected now. So he can be away from the game for a little while and not have to worry about it too much. That said, this may not be a game this may not be your main. And if it's not your main, are you going to have that resource forever?
I've got strong opinions on this. So is there something you wanted to say before
honestly,
I start to ramble?
feels to me like it was almost like an oversight. They're like, well, obviously the resource needs to deplete if you're like gonna be away for long periods of time, right? Like if I'm talking like, weeks in between plays. So they're like, well, that should probably be a resource that depletes, not just a thing that you have. It is forever winter. After all, it's tough. You're not the hero. Shit doesn't stick around. I get it. However, at the same rate that it dissipates as when you're actively playing, that seems rough. That should be like a 1/10 ratio or like a 1/3 ratio, right? Because it makes sense that people are using water while you're not there to a degree. But I mean, that seems a little rough. So it almost feels like it was an oversight. Like someone was like, all right,
I hope so.
Jimothy, like you coded that, right? It's like, oh yeah, it disappears. And they're like, dude, the same rate, bro? Come on. So I'm hoping it's just an oversight because honestly, the Forever Winter, right? It was one of the games that I think we were all drooling over.
Very excited about it.
So yeah, and that's what this is for, right, guys? Is to work out some of these kinks and to get honest criticism.
Yeah.
Not, hey, get this game out or we're going to find your family. But like, here are some problems. We like it so far. Issue, though.
Modern day gamers, PC gamers especially, at this point, you should be a tenured person when it comes to early access games. You need to know what you're getting into. You need to know what the game you're currently looking at, its likelihood of getting out of early access, what that looks like. And this game showed a lot of promise, and it's clear they have a good team, enough people, everybody passionate that this is going to probably be a very solid chance of coming out in 1.0 as a very good game, right? My first and only devil's advocate here is I do not know if this game has other systems in it that rely on real time. Whether that's like night and day effects might map 1-to-1, or sending information back to the server that hosts the games for like in-game events. You think about stuff like Helldivers doesn't really have any in-game 1-to-1 time, but the overworld map of all the planet combat, the large-scale stuff, needs like constant updates because players winning matches has a real effect, right? So maybe the game has something and the water is a part of that. At the end of the day, if we step back, this game is punishing you for not playing it. I am having trouble of thinking of any games, even mobile games, that do that. In fact, mobile games almost always reward you for not playing it by giving you extra stuff when you come back. To make a game that says, hey, if you're young or you have a lot of spare time or you're rich and you can play this game every day and keep your water topped off, even if you're not great at it because you have a lot of time to play it, good. Oh, you have a family, a job, a career, you don't have a lot of time to game, fuck you, right? Like if people are legitimately having a problem keeping water up to the point where they're getting punished in game for it, that's ridiculous, right? What is the point? Because if the water is easy to get, as some people are spouting in reviews, then why is it a system at all in the first place?
Yeah.
It is you're wasting the player's time.
And
right?
not a lot of people agree that it's easy. Not every mission includes
I'm
water.
just saying, if it was easy, this is just an onerous task that you shouldn't have to do. Like, I don't sweep to have fun, right? And if people are saying it isn't easy, you're just actively punishing people who are either not good at the game or don't have a lot of time to play it, or both, especially, that's a huge no-no. Like, that's enough for me that, like, I'm going to definitely wait until I see them either heavily change the system or get rid of it before I give them money. As excited as I am about the game, I'm not going to reward you punishing me for stuff that has nothing to do with the game itself, right? This is just bonkers. It's very weird.
It is really weird. I was looking really forward to getting my hands on this. We talked about it in our Discord even just last night, and we had somebody asking if we had picked it up yet because he knows that we were looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was right on the edge.
Oh yeah,
I was about to go read reviews, but
I said not yet. I do want to have some reviews out. I'm not ready to plunk. It's only $27, but I'm not ready to plunk down $27 for a bad game. Yeah. So as much as I want to support small indie developers that are making these clearly like massive in scope passion projects, I can't support a bad game. With this as one of the core mechanics and being as punishing as it is, I can't recommend the game in its current state. I think if they fix that, then I think we can go back to I want to support indie developers. $27 isn't a huge barrier to entry to do so, and keep it at that. Even if it turns out to not be the best game ever, I think their motives are good, and their ethos aligns with ours in almost every way. So, I think it would be totally fine to support it if they get rid of this water mechanic or alter it in some way that isn't nearly as punishing. Like, we need to see 10% of the amount of punishment that is giving now.
This is no punishment.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
agree.
reason to punish a player out of game.
I agree.
I can't think of any game that does that.
Even MMOs have gotten rid of those kinds of mechanics at this point. Some of the most predatory games in the world have gotten rid of it.
World of Warcraft started with an XP malice for playing too much.
Yeah.
And they realized, that doesn't work. Like, people hate that. So instead, they gave you an XP bonus for not playing.
Right.
By the longer you wait with playing, then you get the rested XP. That was 20 fucking years ago. They figured that out, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. At the very least, this is the minimum that I think I'd require. Because if you, as a developer, believe that you should be punishing players in the game, you need to drastically lower that punishment. Like, severely.
if the punishment is in game, like if it's really hard to get water and keep it until you get competent at the game,
super scarce resource, great.
that's 100% okay.
Yeah.
Right? That is in-game stuff. You tweak that setting till the cows come home. I don't care. Just real time water loss. Just
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. It's not a live service game, right? It's not a game. Yeah, it's not a game that has a persistent world with other players in it. So it doesn't make sense that your NPCs exist in the world when you aren't in it. So it doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, though, from the last video we saw with the dev talking in his character form. This seems like an oversight to me.
It seems like it's something they're
it does
quickly gonna.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. I just can't. From the video that we saw last time to this, I can't see this being a route that they're like honestly going to go down. So anyway, my 2 cents.
Anyways, yeah.
Let's hope. Well, anyways, away from that rant. Otherwise, seems totally great.
Speaking of indie games, I just today came across this. Thank you, Rock, Paper, Shotgun. Fun little game that caught my eye called Lorn's Lure. This being made by Rebecca Games, I believe also a one-person studio. This game's boilerplate is an android is led through a vast structure by a glitch in his visual system. Lorn's Lure is an atmospheric narrative first-person platformer with novel climb-anything mechanics and modernized retro 3D graphics. What caught me about this? Well, the reviewer was gushing and the videos were gushing about how this game is, I think he described it as the anti-Golden Line platformer. You think about games that have like sparkling trails telling you where to go, or like the yellow paint on ledges. You can climb this ledge, that ledge. In this game, everything is climbable, and climbing is the game. It is a puzzle platformer in a dark, decrepit, kind of weird post-apocalyptic Android PS2 looking setting, and all of the mechanics are all around movement and platforming. There are various mechanics you expect, I imagine, if you don't, and some quality of life improvements over some other games of this ilk. I saw one reviewer saying that your stamina bar doesn't decrease unless you're actively doing stuff, so you can hang on a wall and like look for the next spot to go. Some of these spots feel like cheating, according to another review. The guy was astounded that tiny little pipes that look like in any other game you wouldn't even have collision detection are considered the expected route.
Yeah.
Another reviewer was saying it's like playing Skyrim or something, finding a place you want to go, and then jamming yourself in between a building and a wall and spending 5 minutes trying to like glitch your way up to the top and succeeding and getting that thrill of like, haha, that's this whole game. It's designed to be a really fresh take on puzzle platforming, given that we've had 50 years of it now. Already at 700 reviews on Steam. It's only been out 5 days. It's a very positive. It is a whopping $13.50 for the next day and a half, and then it goes up to $15.
Ooh.
The most recent Steam update by the dev is wow. This sold twice as many copies as expecting this quickly. Vinny Vine Sauce, if you're familiar, says it's weird, it's different, it's also strangely addictive. I'm really liking what I'm looking at. There are no parkour ledges, according to the features. You can climb almost any vertical wall face using your pickaxes. Tough game, but not frustrating. Another reviewer said that the last checkpoint, if you fall and die, is insanely forgiving. Sometimes they'll even like put you where you were trying to go if you so much as like clipped ledge.
Okay.
And the falling to death mechanic is that you die if you move too fast, and you have a little HUD UI that increases up to 3 bars, and if you get to the 3rd bar of speed, that's when you die.
Okay.
Which is kind of an interesting way to take on it. Requires 4 gigs of RAM. The graphics card says anything above onboard graphics cards.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it.
An AMD Athlon 2 processor. Yeah, it's great. Again, this is Lorn's Lure, LORN''S space Lure, LURE. If you like platformers, if you like that dark, dingy Nier Automata style atmosphere, Thief, a little. I mean, the game kind of looks like Half-Life 1 in its graphics.
Totally.
Especially with the crowbar.
Looks like a very early PS2 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited to try it out. And this is cheap enough that I can probably pick it up before the year's out. And my brother would love this. It's like a slow, brooding, what's that game he loves? Ultra Kill, right? Yeah. Ultra Kill without a gun. So, yeah.
No, it is one of those games where the moment I saw it, I was like, I think I might like this. Because I do like really complex, but like the mechanics are good for the traversal. I even like I mentioned earlier before the podcast, even in Satisfactory, which Nick and I have been playing almost exclusively right now. There are ways to just build to where you want to go, and you don't really have to think about it too much. Yeah. You build ramps, platforms, stuff you can climb, all kinds of stuff. I still find myself very often trying to figure out how I use the terrain to my advantage. Like before I get into a fight, I suss it out. I see where my exit points are going to be. I think about the tools that I have, and then I implement that thing. And that's one of my favorite ways to play games. So sometimes I don't use the mechanics that they've given me for the easy out. I find myself doing maybe the harder thing just because I like kind of exploiting movement.
I do it a lot unconsciously.
Yeah.
I realize I've been spending 4 minutes trying to get up this like 20-foot high wall the hard way. I'm like, okay, I tried. I'm just going to build a fucking platform.
Now just ramp up for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love doing that kind of stuff. In a game that is literally
inherently fun.
It is.
It's a good challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we'll go to Josh and then back to you, and then we'll start our state of play coverage, eh?
Okay.
All right, excellent. So, well, I did it. I bought Ragnarok last week.
Yeah, did it.
And I have put, roughly 12 hours into it over my week here, and I have been enjoying it greatly. It's been a hoot and a half. Now I think it's some of my own PC trubs that are currently bringing it down. I'm currently experiencing some crashes in the game, but when the game is running at its smoothest, it is God of War at its absolute best. So far, I have already fought Thor. You get to at least once. I fought him the first time. You get to do that really quick, and that was just such a cool, fun fight cinematic. Once again, the fighting is crisp in the God of War game, which we've come to expect. Now, there are some issues. It is once again a PlayStation port that just doesn't play as well on the PC as it does on a PS5.
Yeah.
Their optimization over is just not as good. Now, this is a far cry better than the Last of Us port, right? That was a rough port. By all accounts, this is very successful. Now, some other people are talking about some complaints of frame rate drop when they're playing, and that's even with like my PC is, I would say, medium beefy. And I've experienced a little bit of frame rate drop, but I don't know if that's a personal problem with my PC lacking some extra memory that it doesn't have. It could be a little bit of A, a little bit of B there, a little bit of both columns. But having frame rate drop in a fighting action game that requires precise timing and parrying is a little frustrating when all of a sudden Kratos is chugging just a little bit and then a third of my life bar goes down because, I don't, but that's a very small, tiny complaint. And I don't want to do it too hard because I don't want to scare PlayStation away from bringing more ports over to PC.
For sure.
So I am having a very good time playing. I didn't have any issue before the update. So I think the little update they put out afterwards is at least messing with me a little bit. But yeah. Now the other sticky wicket is, of course, the PlayStation Network account, the PSN. So I did it. And my reasoning was, well, I bought the game. They told me I was going to have to do it. So there's that. But also, if I bought a PlayStation 5, which I considered doing to play this game, I would have had to make a PlayStation account. So either way, this was going to happen if I wanted to play Ragnarok. So I just accepted that. Now, y'all, there is one brave soul. Some people would use the word hero.
Jimothy.
Some people. Who has made of God of War Ragnarok mod that removes the PSN requirement. And he has vowed...
Welcome to the BC club, Sony.
He has vowed to never let this battle go and to continuously update and evade them at every turn that he can so that you can just play the game. So, you know, not like I said, not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they make mods, you know?
You can't piss off modders, man. They already have time to mod.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do if you make them angry at you? Like, you're going to open up your email one day and your monitor's going to turn to jello.
They code for somebody else's game for fun.
Yeah,
so
for free.
You know, yeah, for free.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
This brave modder is known as Artorias. So yeah, look on their mod. It's on Nexus. You go for it if you really don't want the PSN. And honestly, I get it. PlayStation is a little loosey goosey with information from their side. They're just like,
Yeah.
If they come
left
for
the
you,
window
man,
open.
I am Artorias.
So yeah, exactly,
Artorias.
exactly.
He is
So
Artorias.
you know, keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. And like I said, like they said, welcome to PC, PlayStation.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Now, as far as performance, it's not just you that's having issues. It's like so far it seems to be a relatively good port. People are obviously comparing it to 2018's God of War, which was a crazy good port.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was one of the #1 recommended games for the Steam Deck before Valve validated it, right? It just ran on everything and it ran well. So yeah, they are comparing one of the best touted ports ever made to something that's new on a newer platform that isn't quite as matured yet. It took less time to come out from the PS5 to PC than it did than 2018 from PS4 to PC. So like these are things that they can definitely tighten up. And then there are some added variables because your SSD is full.
It is
chock-a-block full.
Chock-a-block.
So there might be some page file issues or something like that that add to the inconsistencies in how it plays. But it is a fairly demanding game. It is from the newer platform. That said, your configuration should be able to handle it just fine.
But it's oh my god, I'm bouncing back and forth between like when it's like crashing a bit and it's hard for me to play it, frustration, to like literal like testicle pulsating action, crisp combat, riveting story. It's just it is so, when it's good, it's real good.
It's good to hear. Hopefully they'll get that maybe tweaked a bit.
Yeah. Well, speaking of testicles pulsating, Nick, you've got one more game to talk about before we go into the state of play.
I do. I'm just going to do that for 5 minutes. I have a tabletop role-playing game that I got forever ago from a Kickstarter called Mork Borg. This game's tone and setting and mechanics and art make Dark Souls look like My Little Pony. It is a Black Doom death metal album turned into a game. And the brilliant folks behind it paired up with a studio to start a Kickstarter project to make a video game based off of it. If I had the opportunity to run another short campaign, 3 to 6 sessions in an OSR setting, it would be Mork Borg, hands down. The setting is basically the world was doomed, and then that happened, and now it's gonna die, and you cannot stop it. And you play as a handful of nasty little wretched, vile heroes, quote unquote, that are basically just trying to exist in the time before the end times. Everything is falling apart, and I love it. So to hear them make a little roguelite side-scrolling beat 'em up out of it, I think is going to be really, really cool. The Kickstarter itself starts next Tuesday. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's like early access for games on Steam, except it's a different website. So you would give them money, and then more than likely you will get your product. I've backed over 100 projects and roughly 3 or 4 of them didn't go through. You just got to be smart about what you do. And I know this is going to go through and do well because they've already released multiple Mork Borg products that were kickstarted and did fantastically. The game itself is coming out end of next year sometime. There's not a lot of information about it. Short little trailer. The copy here: take control of the vilest scum ever to crawl upon the earth and wander the dying lands of the original game through a graphic style inspired by the book. The book is so beautiful. People buy it just to put it on their coffee table. And it is also a tabletop role-playing game. It's like a 50-page book. It's got all the rules you need. And it is absolutely gorgeous. The weapon chart for what weapons you can pick shows like a Vitruvian man all cut up and dying, and every weapon stuck into him, and then the damage the weapon deals. And it's like that kind of stuff. It's very, very, very cool. Very, very black metal doom metal. And I just saw that today. Excited to see that is coming out. More tie-overs of OSR stuff to video games, please.
Well, let's how about we get to state of play real quick. We're going a little bit long in this one. But yeah, there's just a handful of games that I want to talk about. I'll give a brief synopsis of each one that they showed today, including they showed the PS5 Pro again, that it's also going to have black side plates if you want those. They have
$25.
I was going to say, how much are those?
They have a new anniversary edition of the PlayStation 5 also dropping. Comes with the original PlayStation Gray, the controllers, the stand, and everything, so you can do all that if you're a collector.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool.
If you are in the market for a base PS5 right now, they're coming out with a Chroma collection. Those look kind of nice. They're like a metallic looking purple, white, and green. All of those look cool. So if it's something that you don't have yet, then you might want to look into those coming soon. As far as the games go, it wasn't the first one. We're going a little bit out of order here. If you would like to watch the state of play, make sure you go to videogametango.com. It'll all be in the blog there for the show notes, including all of the trailers and everything. So don't worry. If you want to go check it out yourself, if you're listening to this in the car on your way to work, then once you get home or you take your first break, watch the state of play. It's only like a half hour long. And
you could do that on a poop?
Yeah. Well, that, sure. Yeah, for sure. The first one, kind of probably the biggest announced game this month's state of play, was Ghosts of Yotei. This comes from Sucker Punch Studios, the same people that brought us Ghost of Tsushima, which is
lots of ghosts over there.
Clearly, which is a very, very well received game. This is Sucker Punch's first game that is exclusive to PS5, so they're not also co-developing it for PS4.
Or PC.
Whatever.
Well, it may come to PC eventually. I'm just saying, like, PS4 is not included in this, even the Pro Edition, so it is going to get all of the benefits that come with the PlayStation 5. So it's
going to be pretty
native there. It is going to be very pretty, and you can see that from They don't show any gameplay, unfortunately. It's the theatrical trailer only, but it is cool and it is pretty. Which Ghost of Tsushima wasn't slacking in the looks department either. That game looked dynamite. This one looks like it will probably take the mantle of one of the prettiest games on any modern system. It's gorgeous. That said, I don't know how much of the theatrical trailer is in engine, but it doesn't look so hyper well done that it's all pre-rendered. It looks like it very well could be an engine for this generation of console. That said,
for me to tell anymore.
Yeah, it really is, and that's why I have no doubt that this was done in engine. Because these games, they're coming out and they're just fucking gorgeous. Yeah. Like, child me would have never imagined that something could look this good. That said, if you like Ghost of Tsushima, you're probably going to be looking forward to Ghost of Yotei. Again, it is the next entry from Sucker Punch, and something to probably look forward to, especially if you are a PlayStation owner. Along with that, they announced the pre-order trailer. They showed off the pre-order trailer for the Lego Horizon Adventures. Cool. Another Lego game. Sometimes they're great.
Fun, man.
Yeah, no,
they're fun.
Sometimes they're absolutely fantastic. Not all of them.
900 of them.
Exactly. Yeah. And not all of them are super great, but they're all at least fun.
Yeah, wait till it goes on sale.
Sure, absolutely. Now, sticking with Horizon
Zero Dawn.
This is the one that I have a little bit of a guffaw toward. They are remastering already Horizon Zero Dawn. We've talked about this previously, but now they're showing off the engine, and it's a good-looking game. Don't get me wrong. But did we need a single generation remaster like we did with The Last of Us with every new generation?
Ago, right?
Yeah, it's just come on. The game was already crazy good looking. The games already look stupid good on PC. And
it's
yes,
2017.
yeah, dude. So 7 years, and like on the previous platform. I get it. You've got ray tracing. You've got this stupid fast SSD, so you can. But just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should. And to be honest, I was looking at side-by-side comparisons of the original versus the remastered. And to be honest, I think the original, in most cases, not necessarily in motion, because I've only seen screenshots. Those are two distinctly different things. But as far as still motion goes, it looks like there is vastly more detail in the PlayStation 4 version than there is in the remastered PlayStation 5 version. To be honest, Aloy is looking a little plasticky compared to how she looked previously. Like she was oiled up, dipped in plasticine, and then pulled out and slapped back in her game. Other than that, yeah, you get ray tracing, so you get more realistic shadows and textures and stuff like that. But I don't think it really shines because the game already looked phenomenal. Like it was absolutely like a console maker and really displayed the power of the PlayStation 4 at the time. It didn't get much better graphically than it did on the PS4. Of course, until it came to the PC. That said, it's just too fucking early. Like, who was asking for this?
I have a handful of ideas on why they do stuff like this. So it's been 7-8 years. So First idea, they're really passionate about it and they want to remaster it because they just made Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
So they have the new update. Let's just redo the old one. We have the time, right?
And the technology, sure.
They want to re-release it and make more money.
Yeah.
And they measured, if we spend X amount of time doing a remaster and charge Y amount more, will we get more money than if we just re-release the original game digitally on the new console, but charge less? I don't know. I don't know the pricing. We don't know. 3, the studio has spare time, or for some reason Sony wants them to put it out. Who knows exactly why they do it?
Ooh.
Here's the thing.
Sorry, I just had a brain. It's maybe to pair with a show or something.
Could be.
Good
because
point.
Sony for years now has been building towards having a video game like that sort of studio, like releasing shows and movies based on some of their video
really
game
good point.
content.
You may be onto something there.
Yeah, it could coincide with a Forbidden Zero Dawn movie or show coming out, and that
At the end of the day, I played through and beat the first Zero Dawn. I burned out on the second one about 40 hours in. The first one is hands down my favorite open world, the Far Cry's, the Assassin's Creed, because it is pretty darnly well written and it has an engaging story with stuff you can't easily predict, and even if you do, it's still kind of mind blowing, and the game almost doesn't overstay its welcome, but between all the different environments and enemies and the different types of enemies, it never felt stale. And I never felt pressured to do all the bullshit. This settlement needs your help stuff. It's there, right? It is like an Ubisoft style game. But yeah, the first one was great. It was a fantastic game. I loved it. So if people can't get it on PS5 any other way, sure, I guess.
Yeah, if you haven't played it, then I guess it's probably the best way you can play it.
But if they're going to charge $60 for it,
you
know why they did a remaster.
That's too much. I just realized why they did the remaster. It's because the remaster comes out on Halloween, so 10/31. The PlayStation 5 Pro comes out November 7th, the week after.
Oh,
This is a remaster to sell PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
I could see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what we're looking at. Now, you may be onto something there, because I'm pretty sure Secret Level is doing something with Horizon.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, Secret Level being the show that we talked about in a previous podcast, where they were bringing in a bunch of different studios to put their games into insulated stories on Netflix, I believe. Or no, it's
Prime.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, there you might be onto something there. Like it might be reason to hype people up and get people back in the ecosystem, and to make money and to sell PS5 Pros. It's probably all of that. It does seem like it may be kind of a perfect storm and a good reason maybe to put out the remaster, especially if people haven't played it. So if they see Secret Level, now they have incentive to go check out the series in its most recent and polished form.
December 10th, by the way, for Secret Level.
Okay, yeah. So it does all kind of line up. So it's hard for me to hate too much, but it's just, yeah, it's 7 years old.
It doesn't seem like enough time.
No, it doesn't. Horizon Zero Dawn feels like a new game still to me. Like, I guess that's part of being old, is just time goes faster, but I don't know. It seems really early. Let's talk about really, really early, and let's go back to the PlayStation 1. Fear the Spotlight was something that got shown off during State of Play, and honestly looks pretty cool. So it's a Blumhouse horror game. We talked about what Blumhouse is going to be doing for the horror genre in upcoming games. This is one that we talked about in a previous State of Play. It's a horror game that's set in essentially PlayStation 1 graphics. It's neat looking, especially since they've figured out how to do the PlayStation Warble effect, which is pretty neat. Yeah, it looks a little bit better than just about everything on the PlayStation, but it certainly gives you that feeling. The characters, textures, and walls all kind of warble, just like the PlayStation 1 did when you were playing Tomb Raider for the first time. So kind of cool. We're getting another theatrical trailer. There are no gameplay trailers in the State of Play this time. So they are all, this one looks like we're probably seeing bits of gameplay interspersed with, something that the studio did to make a trailer. That said, we're not seeing downright gameplay, the nitty gritty with the HUD and etc. So, but it does look cool. I think it's a really cool aesthetic that they're bringing forward. We're seeing a little bit more of this happening in recent, history, is getting these the old aesthetics. Because, dude, if you remember the first Silent Hill on the original PlayStation, that game was scary as shit just because of the limitations of the console. The reason Silent Hill has fog is because of the limitations of the console at the time. They couldn't render further than the fog went. So really cool aesthetic decisions there. I think it's neat. Something to keep an eye on. Okay, so Hell Is Us is the next one on my list. It just looks neat. To be honest, I have no idea what this game is going to be about. They say something in the trailer about how all the bad things happening in the world are in your mind. But the game looks cool. I would like to see. This one does focus or show a little gameplay.
Glad it moved away from the water.
What?
I'm glad it moved away from the water.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a water. It's not a water horror game.
Good.
There are horror elements, but it is supposed to be an action adventure game. But yeah, the title is Hell Is Us. Real quick, I'm looking for my copy because I scrolled past it a second ago.
This is Zelda Eastern Russian edition.
Yeah,
that's
kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, no, and it's grim, dark, and it looks neat. So it says, State of Play brought us the first gameplay of the upcoming PS5 action adventure Hell Is Us. The game won't hand answers to players on a silver platter. Instead, they will need to pay attention to what they see and hear to connect the dots and make their own discoveries.
Is this a Strand type game?
So it does actually remind me aesthetically of a Death Stranding a little bit. It does look like a bit of a walking simulator, but it also looks like it combines the walking simulator nature of Death Stranding
With some combat.
with some actual combat. I do like the design. It's this weird industrial punk meets medieval times thing that they've got going on. I do like the kind of merging of atmospheres in this game. It does make me think that the game is going to be taking place on like different universes or something. Really hard to tell based on the trailer. But yeah, it looks pretty interesting. And they're saying that you're going to have to be using like most of your senses to figure out what's going to happen in the game.
Smell-o-vision?
I don't know, but it seems like some of it's going to be taking place in your mind based on the little bit of narration that's in the trailer. Obviously, we don't do the audio from these trailers in our audio video podcast. But yeah, go check it out. I think the trailer is worth watching, and it is a PlayStation exclusive right now. Something for the PlayStation, like these consoles are severely lacking in exclusive recently. And as much as I'm kind of anti-exclusive, like the people that did buy into these consoles probably deserve to be getting some good games.
They deserve nothing.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's be real.
sir.
Another remake that I'd like to talk about is Legacy of Kain, the Soul Reaver series. So we talked about them remaking Legacy of Kain not too long ago. And I think it's been long enough that people that love this franchise deserve a remaster. And
This
that's
has been like 20 years.
yeah, it's been like 25 years. It's been a long time. That said, in this trailer, we will see comparisons between the first game and the remaster. And I know I say a lot of times that probably the best remasters are just graphics upgrades. In this case, I don't know that I agree with myself on that one. It does look better. It does look prettier. But to me, this doesn't do anything. Like, it almost loses its like core aesthetic with this remaster, because it just kind of looks like it smooths everything a little bit.
This is a simple answer. They lost the tone of the game.
Yeah, they
in the
did.
Remaster.
Yeah.
Older graphics looked darker and more realistic in the way that the first Star Wars was gritty and realistic.
Yeah.
Because when all you have is pixels to deal with, you can't get plasticine, smooth, colorful objects.
Yeah.
Right? So the game didn't even have to look that dark to look dark, when the implication of the tone is breathing souls, right? There's souls out there. They need to be reaved. So as soon as you make it super shiny and reflective without considering the tone, now it looks like a Lego Soul Reavers game, It
reminds me a lot of when they did the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask's remakes for the 3DS. Yeah. They looked great. It's hard to complain about a graphics upgrade for a series that you like, but it just lost some of its soul with the remake. It lost some of the aesthetic that made it so pleasing at its initial release. I may be totally off base with this. There may be people that have never seen the Legacy of Kain, the Soul Reaver series, and are like, oh, this looks fucking dope. I don't know. I'm just kind of unsure who this game is for, because it doesn't appeal to me, and I don't know that it's going to appeal to a younger generation either, especially if it has the kind of wonky control scheme that was totally acceptable in this era, and especially if it has the god-awful camera that the Legacy of Kain games had in this year. So, I don't know.
I mean, you are kind of like a time-traveling evil sword, so there's that.
That's totally fair.
If that piques your interest, check it out.
Yeah.
But all of Andy's points are extremely valid. And maybe don't check it out. Because again, who did they make this for?
Yeah, I'm just not quite sure. So let me get to my copy for a new game called The Midnight Walk. So The Midnight Walk, Moonhood is thrilled to announce The Midnight Walk, a dark fantasy adventure made of clay coming to PS5 and PSVR 2 in spring 2025.
Oh boy.
Step in. What's that?
He's pretty.
Yeah, and we'll get to the looks here in a second. So step into a handcrafted world and journey through 5 eerie tales of fire, guiding your little lantern friend Potboy while outsmarting the game eating monsters eating the flame. Outsmarting the flame-eating monsters lurking in the shadows. Can anybody tell that it's after midnight right now? Mm-hmm. So it's got a very Tim Burton-esque look to it. Like the game was made in claymation. and then given to us at like 15 FPS. And I really like that, considering that the backgrounds are all moving like super smooth. They're 60, 120, who knows FPS, while all of the characters and like the more near environment is doing this like super laggy almost animation. Looks super cool. I think the design looks awesome. We're only really getting a theatrical trailer again, of course, but I'm intrigued by this one, being that, you know, it dark action adventure fantasy with Potboy, which very much reminds me of Sackboy with a little flame.
I don't like Potboy.
You don't like Potboy?
No, he's
What's wrong with
creepy.
you?
He's creepy looking.
Oh yeah, he's creepy. I mean, this definitely looks Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah, like
right?
if Potboy came at me in a dark alley, I'd be terrified.
What if he's this big?
Yeah.
It's honestly still a little terrified, but I'm gonna kick that little squish him.
So the last one that I want to focus on, and then we'll just kind of go through the list here of the games announced, is Fantasian Neo Dimension. This one, I don't know how to feel about this one because, well, let's just get started with what it is. So it is hearkening back to the mid to late 90s, early 2000s JRPG. Clearly a love letter that's made by Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of the Final Fantasy franchise. Like, we're talking original Final Fantasy. The dude made it almost by himself. And Nobuo Uematsu, who has made the music for all of the Final Fantasy games in history. So I think there's a couple really neat things that they're doing that hasn't really been done yet. It's been done a little bit here and there, especially in some indie titles. But as far as a AAA, you know, big JRPG fantasy, to my knowledge, it hasn't been done. So one thing that they do is all of the landscape in this game is actually made real world, and then they capture all of it in all of the different angles and all of the different focus and proximity. So you are using animated 3D characters in a real environment. So these guys made like
Dioramas.
Essentially
150 of them or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a diorama game. So you're playing in real world, like handcrafted dioramas, which is pretty cool. I think that's a really neat concept. I think that is like a really cool thing to explore, especially by big names like Hironobu Sakaguchi, who has the development chops of Final Fantasy. It is very clearly harkens to old RPGs in the JRPG genre. In that it's my brain is not working anymore. It's
Well, what are you trying to say?
the battle system.
Oh, the active
Turn-based
time battle.
It's just
it is turn-based.
It's fully turn-based. So fully turn-based battle system, like the old Final Fantasies. So it's like it's watching Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu going back to their roots, which I think is kind of cool. I don't know, like I don't see this game selling well outside of like the people that never got over turn-based combat in JRPGs. Like I don't see this bringing a flock of new players. But for me, I'm at least interested. It is like the veterans of JRPGs making a new classic JRPG, which I think is cool because, I go back and I play earlier Final Fantasies semi-regularly. So I don't see why I wouldn't like this game. At the end of the day, I'm not particularly wowed by this state of play. It might be like the biggest lame duck state of play that I've ever seen.
They're all mostly mediocre.
Yeah, for the most part. A little bit to be excited about here. I think it's very unlikely that Ghosts of Yotei is gonna be bad. And there's a little bit on the horizon. I think that I think we can probably look forward to. On top of that, Alan Wake 2 is getting its first expansion. It's called The Lake House. Arc Age Chronicles is coming out. Dragon Age The Veilguard Blighted Dragon trailer is something that we got this week. So they're showing off Dragon Age The Veilguard. Dynasty Warriors Origins. It is just going back to old Dynasty Warriors
Good.
in the modern age. Yeah, I agree.
Swing a stick and hit 90 people.
I love that combat style. I think it's fun to fight massive hordes of enemies, and I'm glad we're getting that genre back, especially in the form of Dynasty Warriors, one of the OGs. There's also Fear the Spotlight. Fortnite's getting listen to this, split screen co-op for Fortnite or Lego Fortnite. So
Okay.
that's kind of neat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's happening. It's happening to a game I don't care about, but I am glad that's happening. Up to 4 players, so the whole family can jump in and play Lego Fortnite together. That is not insubstantial. I think that's a really good thing. We get a couple PlayStation VR titles. We have a new Metro title, so you can play, if you're into the Metro series, you can play it on PlayStation VR. I think that's cool. Those games have all been pretty good at the very least. So VR title, great if you have PSVR 2. There's also Hitman World of Assassination. If you want to play Agent 7 in VR, you can now. There's also Lunar Remastered Collection. You can play a 25-year-old JRPG that's a little bit remastered if you want to. I never got into the Lunar series, so, maybe it is your cup of tea. We got a little bit more Monster Hunter Wilds. They showed off a new boss monster. Pal World is finally coming to PS5 as they promised, so that is coming soon. Stellar Blade.
Well, maybe.
Gotta catch all them lawsuits.
That's fair. Stellar Blade is doing a thing with Nier Automata, so you can play what's her face in
Stellar Automata.
in Stellar Blade.
Her name is like 3B or something
like that. Yeah, upskirt. Then there's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge DLC. It's called Radical Reptiles. It's more DLC for Shredder's Revenge. There is Sonic X Shadow Generations. The blurb for this is: the Year of Shadow continues when the Sonic X Shadow Generations Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie pack launches December 12th on PS5 and PS4 as a DLC tie-in to the upcoming film. So Shadow's featured in the Sonic 3 film, so he's coming to Sonic X Generations. Then there is Towers of Agazba, which is a neat little thing. It's the vibrant and gorgeous open-world adventure Towers of Agazba provides a first look at its city building, ecosystem development, combat, and exploration gameplay. Discover all of Agazba's secrets when it launches in early access on PS5 this November. It looks like you can go from developing your own farm to developing a civilization. Looks
It'll be on Steam as well.
decently neat. And yes, it will. It is not a PS5 exclusive, so we will be getting that on PC, which is probably going to play better with mouse and keyboard. I'm just throwing that out there. At any rate, that is everything
Hot dog.
from this month's State of Play. Wasn't a whole lot, not a lot to look forward to, but that is the news you came for. So there it is. Well, anyways, do you guys have anything you'd like to say about any of the games we talked about tonight, or anything else before we go?
Just more Lu Bu. Dynasty Warriors, yes.
Yes.